Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Grandstand Hockey. Two of the top teams in the men's competition go at it today, OHA and the reigning champion Derwent. Andrew McDonald is beside me for the match, and Macca, I'm excited. I think it's going to be a good game, this one.
Yep, should be an absolute ripper today, Alistair. Good afternoon, everyone. And Daniel Sproul playing for a new team, playing centre half. Dual Olympian against what is a very strong team in Derwent. Should be an absolute cracker today.
He's the new playing coach of OHA. Is that a path he's heading down?
Well, he may well choose to travel down coaching. He's a dual Olympian, so obviously he's got a lot of experience. And from our point of view, we'd love him to be involved in coaching because we think he's got so much to offer. And, if he can communicate well with his group, he's done well so far in the season, he should be a great addition to the coaching panel in the future.
Derwent's won the last two grand finals and they haven't lost a game this season. It's a very settled lineup, that one.
Well, Jeffrey Cock in ominous form with his penalty corners. Tim Deven, if he turns the lights on, who knows? He could be scoring a couple of goals in a couple of minutes. And with Nick Tremaine in the middle and Paul Anker, they've got quite a balanced team, which is quite potent.
And the OHA lineup, well, this season they're talking a lot about the fact that they haven't won a premiership since 1977. The inclusion of Sproul is a big one. They'll be wanting to win this game today. They are the underdog, but they'll think they have a sniff for sure.
Well, they will, and they've got a strong spine. When you think about it, Sam McCambridge, he's a real live wire up front. So is David Wolford. And if they get serviced really well by a player like Daniel Sproul, the chances are they could be in good position to receive to set up goals. And so I think really it's going to be a very interesting battle today.
Derwent's been scoring loads and loads of goals. They beat Prince of Wales Wellington 16-1. I couldn't believe it when I saw the score in the paper. We weren't actually at the game. Could be a goal fest today as well, Macca.
Well, I think so, but I mean, it'll be quite a tight battle, I reckon, and it'll be a big test for Aaron Williams, the goalkeeper of OHA. He needs to play well today because he knows that Jeffrey Cock's in form on penalty corners, and there's no doubt it'll be a strong test of the OHA deep defenders. They don't want to give away penalty corners.
Do you give OHA a good chance? Are you brave enough to tip them today?
Well, I think that it'll be quite an interesting battle. I think the battle will be between Tremaine and Sproul. Could be quite a tight one, and that'll be very interesting today, and that could be the decider on today's game.
All right, it's my great pleasure to welcome Angie Ockenden to the broadcast. Ange, down to you.
Hello, Alistair and Andrew. What a lovely day again for hockey and great conditions out here at the Tasmanian Hockey Centre for this game. It's going to be an exciting game. Certainly Derwent, they are so on fire, and up front they really haven't got any problems at all. Speaking to Glenn Freeman before the game, he's the coach of Derwent. His main concern, I guess, was keeping his defence tight. As I said, I don't think he's got too many worries up front, but he also wanted to make sure that he had plenty of players around the ball and the ball movement was quick and kept up the tempo. Daniel Sproul, he was a little bit coy with me. He didn't want to give too much away, actually, but one of the things he did say was that he wanted his team to work on the basics, particularly to stop the silly turnovers or turnovers altogether. And I think turnovers are a big thing in any game, but he seems to think that his team has suffered a little bit from losing the ball with quick turnovers. He also wanted to make sure that the outletting was good and that they kept the press tight on Derwent. Be an interesting game. I think Derwent's too strong.
Thanks very much, Angie Ockenden. We'll hear more from Angie throughout the day, and I'm probably going to have to go with Derwent as well, Macca. I think you can't go against the reigning champions, although OHA has shown a bit this season. They've won 3 of their 4 matches so far, and they've looked pretty good at stages.
Yeah, I suppose most people would probably tip Derwent. I think, we look at Nick Tremaine. Nick Tremaine's had some problems with his back. The rumour is he hasn't been training at all midweek, and because of the ongoing problems with his back. So it could be interesting to see what actually happens. And, if he's out of form today, it could be quite interesting.
And what about the coaching style of Daniel Sproul? Having coached him yourself, you probably know him pretty well. I know you're a fairly flamboyant type of coach, and you analyse the game hard. I wonder what sort of a coach Daniel Sproul's going to be.
Well, what I would say about Daniel Sproul, and it sounds a bit cliched to say it, but they talk about the people sometimes like Wayne Bennett, and they talk about the Queensland AHL coach, Greg Browning, and they used to refer to him as those two as being simple man, simple plan. And I'm not saying that Daniel Sproul's a simple man. man, but he's got a simple plan. And a lot of the times when I've spoken to him and he's watched AHL games that he hadn't been playing in, he'd give me one or two things, but they were spot on. And it might be little things like marking wasn't good enough or you didn't take your opportunities. But when you read into that, what he said a bit more, he's actually picking the eyes out of what's really important for the group to progress forward. And look, I think he's got a pretty good hockey brain, and if we can sort of utilise that more in the future, it'll be quite interesting to see what he can bring to hockey in Tasmania.
And obviously wonderful for the young players in the OHA lineup to have a 188-game Australian veteran in the team. He swapped from Northwest grads, and now he can perhaps bring on another generation.
Well, interesting there to see his brother too, Trent Sproul, on screen at the back there as well. So he's obviously recruited him to bring some additional sort of knowledge to the game. And we shouldn't forget that Trent Sproul has played a number of games for the Tassie Tigers in the past as well. And so I think that you'll find the way that Daniel plays is he's a get and give, and a lot of the players at the top level have got flair, but they overdo the flair. And the thing about Daniel is he'll use flair when he has to score a goal. At the same time, he'll just build the play of getting and giving. And look, I think Nick Tremaine's of a similar vein in regards to getting and giving the ball as well. So I think this will be quite an interesting game, and I'm looking forward to it.
And no Stuart Webb today for Derwent. That's if there is one little hole to fill in the Derwent lineup this season, it's been the loss of Stuart Webb.
Well, he was in line in some regards to play for the Tassie Tigers this year, and unfortunately in the warm-up he wasn't able to put 2 training sessions together, and in the end we had to get his knee looked at, and he's gone on to see an orthopaedic surgeon and had surgery, and so he's probably about another 10 weeks away from what I'm hearing before he'll be playing for Derwent. So when he joins the Derwent group as well, again they'll be even sort of stronger.
Jeffrey Cock this season's form has been outstanding. As we mentioned, Derwent with that wonderful scoreline of 16-1, an amazing scoreline against Prince of Wales Wellington, and Jeff Cock scored 7 goals. He's certainly finding the back of the net with regularity.
Well, and we're pleased to see it because he's spending a lot of time, and in some regards the TOS is spending a lot of money on getting him to go to these penalty corner flicking specialist camps, and he'll be going soon to with Hamish McGregor on a camp, and the two of them will be away working purely on saving penalty corner flicks from Hamish's point of view, but for Jeffrey Cock, working on making sure he improves his technique. So it'll be a very interesting tussle, and I'm sure Aaron Williams today will have to be at his best in able to defend the penalty corner shots that come his way from Jeffrey Cock.
The two teams break and we'll be underway in just a few moments.
I'm really looking forward to seeing Sam McCambridge play today. I think that he's the real live wire for OHA, and we know that Tim Deavan will be the live wire for Derwent. But Sam McCambridge, he's very fiery, and he throws his body at everything, and it'll be a very interesting tussle between him, Luke Austin and Alistair Addison at the back, and Sam McCambridge is strong and he's quick, so Nathan Fitzpatrick, the goalkeeper for Derwent, will have to make sure that his defenders in front of him are alert to where he is.
There's David Wolford wearing the white armband, the OHA co-captain. Game underway. And Daniel Sproul sent it into the attacking half for OHA. Nick Tremaine for Derwent. Loses the stick, it'll be his free.
Straight away we see Sam McCambridge being really aggressive on Nick Tremaine. I'm sure OHA will be setting out to clamp the time and the space that Nick Tremaine has.
Umpires today, Tony Murgatroyd from University and Nick Budgeon from Northwest Grads. Tremaine. Oh, nice stuff here from McCambridge already. He'll take the free just inside the attacking 25. Wolford goes to the right, goes to ground but gets back up quickly. Deavan goes to ground as well. Inside the circle, there was a player there for OHA, it was Mackie.
Now he's in a good position, he probably should have got a stick on that.
Here's Shaw, one of your men, Macca, a player who worked his way into the Tigers squad this season.
Played well in under 18 nationals as well, of which Tasmania finished in the top 4.
OHA ball to be taken by Edwards. To Moore. Back to Salt.
Yeah, good ball.
Looking dangerous here, OHA. The defence of Derwent Stands tall though. Austin ran it out, and now Tremaine.
Good composure from Tremaine there. Stevens away now. Too fast for Bolton.
Middleton's breaking through the centre. Deven going it all alone. He's going to run out of space here, Tim Deven. Loses possession, and OHA now through Salt. The Cousins combining the two Salts out there. Addison to Shaw. Shaw goes down the line and out of play.
Well, interesting to see Derwent already employing pretty good width there. Good transfer of play. Billy Shaw was nice and wide.
Here's Sproul. Look at him go. Just found some space for himself. Danger here. Bolton couldn't control it though.
Well, that's Daniel Sproul just right there and then being able to control the game. He knew exactly where he had to go, what angle he had to run on, and he just burst and accelerated into space, and it really set up the forwards in front of him. So they're going to get service so much better than what they've done in the previous years.
Tremaine. And there's McCambridge again with an aggressive tackle, but he does get the free. Edwards had it pinched by Paul Anker.
Loves the hairstyle. Alistair looks a little bit like Two-Face. My son watches Batman comics in the morning. I'll tell you what. Oh, there it is. That's what I like about Daniel Sproul and Sam McCambridge. They have a crack.
Austin uses bent. Morton, Salt, Jono to Dylan Salt, and Deven gets a timely stick in there, just puts it out of play.
Change of direction too with Dylan Salt then going forward. Good little bit of flair.
Jono Salt to Moore. Edwards ended up with Middleton.
A dangerous pass by Edwards, but it came on the body of Middleton, so that's why the umpire had to hold up the play.
So Simon Moore. McCambridge just got enough stick on it to slow it down and now goes after it. Bolton. Strong defence so far from Derwent.
Sure, Daniel Sproul would like to see Sam McCambridge being the one receiving the high one, but at the same time, he's very useful to OHA by doing the work in the midfield. Good control. Good ball.
Mackie onto it. Addison took it away all too easily.
And clumsy tackle from behind there. Some free hit for Derwent.
Anker and Addison. And Deven gave it straight to Jono Salt.
It was a bad pass by Jonathan Salt. Then he had both Wolford and Sproul to his right in the open play. He needed to transfer it then.
That's great stuff from Greg Bent. A lovely releasing ball for Jeff Cock. Middleton should have put that away.
Well, this is the critical thing for OHA. This is the difference. Had they made the right choice going forward then, they wouldn't have had that counter-attack against them. But Middleton in very good position there. But the ball, it's quite hard to deflect the ball when it's on that angle. And he did his best, but couldn't quite get there. Probably can be forgiven for that one because, as I said, it was a difficult angle.
Derwent with the first really decisive opportunity to score. In fact, it was their first penetration. Deven on the reverse. Over the top he goes.
Well, that's the concern for OHA. I mean, Derwent just being able to make a couple of 1-2 type passes. Anker's free, finds Deven, and Deven's on his reverse, basically with 3 or 4 yards to play in.
Austin gets back for Derwent. Anker. Happy to see that ball out of play. And moves it on quickly. It gets through Salt this time. Jeff Cock there, and Jeff Cock dangerous. He's going to shoot at goal, and Middleton there again. This one was flying past.
Yeah, I'm not sure that he's actually going for Middleton then, or going for the net. But had he have been going for Middleton, he probably wouldn't have put so much on it. And just about here, he's hit it pretty hard. It might have taken a slight deflection, pretty hard to tell. Again, Addison in way too much space. Not sure what Angus Bolton's doing there.
Morton ended up fortuitously with Mackie. Edwards. There's a good look at that hairstyle.
Oh, good through ball.
Wolford gets past Street. He's got to cut back to the left here, David Wolford. Middleton puts it out of play. Dylan Salt. Austin not mucking around. Gets it out of there as quickly as possible.
I like the structure that OHA have got here. They've obviously pushed Dylan Salt right up inside the attacking 25 at right half, and it's important that he comes there as a late play. He's overlapping, and it just brings another sort of opportunity for them inside the attacking 25.
Luke Austin to take it for Derwent. Tremaine goes right back to Addison.
That's good confidence.
Bent. Where's the option? Goes centrally to Deven. It's going to end up with Wolford though. Deven dives. Wolford with the overhead. Play on, says umpire Budgeon. McCambridge there with Austin, and Streets there for Derwent as well.
Well, I think that's the trait about these two teams at the moment. We've seen a number of overheads already in this game, and I think it's something that there's no doubt the Tassie Tigers need to improve in this area, and it's good to see club hockey now using the toss more effectively rather than just wasting possession. They're finding targets and retaining possession, so it's a good quality that both teams are developing.
Moore. Morton. Sproul. Gave to Edwards. And Moore again in a bit of space. McCambridge inside the circle. Lovely ball for Bolton. Can Bolton score the first goal? No, he can't.
Well, that was poor marking by Nathan Street then from Derwent on the wrong side of his opponent. Good opportunity for OHA then.
We were talking about overheads before. That man on screen, Nick Budgeon, has the overhead down, Macca.
He does. I have seen him throw the ball around about 80 yards. Not too many people in Tasmania could be able to claim that.
John O'Salt working down the right flank. Wolford will take the free.
Oh, dangerous. Yeah, that's an area that I think David Wolford and probably the OHA coaching group have got to look at. I think I'm not sure he's the best person to be making the pass inside the attacking circle free hits. Tends to lift the ball a little bit, doesn't too often find the target flat. Tackle by Sprout, as easy as please.
Opens up now for Jeremy Edwards. Uses Wolford and Dylan Salt working to the right. That's not quite what he had in mind.
Well, that was a good example of Daniel Sproul's ability to be able to do something and make it look really simple. A difficult skill to tackle and dispossess an opponent on your reverse, but he just does it so cleanly and makes it look as if it's just same as trapping a ball.
Mackie, you mentioned the coaching staff for OHA. I do notice that Daniel has his brother Trent Sproul as his bench coach, which is a pretty handy addition to his coaching team, I'd suggest.
Yep, fair bit of experience there.
Bolton was charging forward for OHA. Derwent again just content to put the ball out.
OHA getting a lot of their play down their right flank at the moment. Hasn't been too much possession downside the left side of the attacking 25. A lot of play down there right, keeping Austin busy. Bit uncertain coming out of defence here. Full press here from OHA. Good to see. difficulty for Derwent, Alistair, has been that Nick Tremaine's having to come back inside of the defensive 25 to receive a lot of the ball on their outletting, and that's certainly not where he would want to be receiving a ball when they're coming out of defence. He wants to be able to receive the ball so he can still keep going forward.
The tactics of OHA working nicely so far. Bit of an arm wrestle here. Last week we saw a couple of goals very early on in our broadcast match. We've gone 12 minutes here now. Still it's 0-0. Moore looks up, sees Jeff Cox onto them, so decides not to go back to Jono Salt. Sproul does. Dylan Salt. Street took front position. Bundles over Wolford. Bent. Lovely little pirouette.
I'm not sure that was a free hit. That would have been play on in my... if I was umpiring. Not much in that.
Have you done any umpiring, Macca?
Oh, I umpired a little bit in Perth, first grade. I haven't done much over here because I think they, in the olden days, used to throw bottles over here. I reckon I would have copped most of them.
I would have left the commentary box to partake in that, Macca.
Yeah, well, you have to line up. There's a fair queue.
Addison. And now Shaw. Tremaine uses Austin. Devens in the middle. Austin goes forward. Inside the circle, Anchor takes the swipe.
Yeah, pretty steep angle to having a shot on your reverse there. It's really a difficult task to be able to score from a reverse in that area. Probably needed to force a penalty corner.
Mackie had 3 Derwent players to beat and comes up with a free for OHA.
I'm liking the style of OHA's outletting at the moment. They're using a fair bit of width, probably too much down their right-hand side, but they are spreading it around. Derwent at the moment employing a half-court press. In other words, they're getting all their numbers to the ball side, shifting across, trying to cramp the space of OHA.
Sproul, oh, and the whistle's blown for a foot, and OHA was on then. How quickly did Daniel Sproul sum it up and get it to the free man?
Well, he knew it was a trap door. It was a deliberate missed trap by Tremaine. I think the ball was heading towards Anchor, but Daniel Sproul was on the line. Probably a little bit lucky, really, by Nick Tremaine there, because you wouldn't want to do that with Daniel Sproul in behind you too often. I don't think we'll see Nick Tremaine employ that too more often in the game.
Edwards.
Oh, clever, well done. Tremaine rushed in then.
Now he tracks laterally. Ingles gets in the way of it for Derwent. And he could never quite get control on that ball, Jeremy Ingles.
Well, you can sense at the moment that Nick Tremaine's prepared to take an educated gamble every so often and really work hard on the press. You can tell by the way that he really went hard at Jeremy Edwards that he's hoping to turn him over.
Comes Cock inside the circle.
Well, that's the big worry for OHA. And Jeffrey Cock and Simon Moore, I think it is there, having a bit of a talk. Daniel Sproul probably involved himself in that. But the issue for OHA then was the tackling by some of their deep defenders. And I think in that instance, it was Salt. And, to go flat inside the defensive circle, you need to have your agility about you so you can change direction quickly. And certainly Jeffrey Cock's got the skill to change direction quickly. So what you don't want to do is go to ground.
And it is Jeff Cock doing the flicking. And that is exactly what you were talking about before the game, Andrew McDonald. He's extremely dangerous from penalty corners. And there's the first goal to Jeff Cock. 19 now for the season. And Derwent leads 1-0.
Yeah, and, he put it into a reasonable position here now, nice and low, but you would have thought that Aaron Williams probably could have done better there, and that was a savable flick, but he just wasn't able to read the ball, and all the speed might have beaten him, but I think you could write that one down as Aaron saying he should have saved.
Here's a chance, though, for the equaliser very quickly. Shaw, though, with skill got it out of there. Derwent. Through Bent. Be an OHA ball. Sproul goes back to Morton.
Not having too much space either, Sproul. Every time he's getting the ball at the moment, he's having to trap and turn back and lay it off to his deep defenders. He wants to be able to get the ball going forward. Hasn't had the opportunities.
Clever from McCambridge. Shot at goal, and that's super stuff from OHA.
Well, Angus Bolton finished it pretty well. Would again also suggest that Nathan Fitzpatrick probably could have done a better job there. So good little release ball. Billy Shaw not on his opponent. And it really didn't appear as if Nathan Fitzpatrick was balanced at all on that last one. So I don't think he was expecting for Angus Bolton to have that much space. Billy Shaw won't be too happy with that one when he looks at it on the replay.
Angus Bolton on the board, made the move to OHA from Devonport this year. Gets the equaliser. Was this period of arm wrestle really, Macca, for the first 15 minutes or so, and then the players have obviously decided that maybe we won't just play out a 0-0 draw, we'll actually get some goals on the board, and we've had 2 in a minute.
Yeah, you can't imagine with these two teams that'll happen, and just some untidy tackling then. Anthony Murgatroyd, the umpires, decided to award Derwent a penalty corner. So here's another big test of Aaron Williams. At this point in time, he's saying to himself, will it be Alistair Addison? Will it be Jeffrey Cock? Not sure.
It's Jeff Cock again, and Jeff Cock, same result.
Well, the problem there, I mean, the big problem for Aaron Williams then is he's basically gone down on one knee. And when the ball's being flicked up nice and high like that, there's no need for him to go down onto one knee. So he's technically, he's quite flawed at the moment. And he hasn't got the full extension. There's no way known you can make a save up high when you're going down, when your movement is to go down with your right knee. He should be upright, and his left glove should have been up. So really, I mean, great. It was a great flick. Don't get me wrong. It was a good, powerful flick. But I'd suggest that the goalkeepers need to do better.
20 goals for Jeff Cock already this season. The season is only really in its infancy. Derwent leading 2-1. Can OHA get another quick reply?
Well, this is where I reckon that OHA have got to start to think about transferring the play a bit more. And because Derwent are employing this half-court press, you can't keep going through all the numbers. You've got to go around the back and try and spread the ball. And at the moment, they're not doing that often enough.
Morton gets in the way of it for OHA. It will be an OHA free anyway. Right down the other end of the field. Alistair Addison on the screen. Premiership player with Derwent.
Release, go, Bill.
Anchor. Derwent. Down the right they come. Austin. Anchor knocked it on. Didn't quite have the right angle.
Yeah, that's untidy for a player of Paul Anchor's standard. He should be able to find a target there. That's sloppy.
Nice trap from Bolton. Billy Shaw is probably going to be pinged for that.
Yep.
And I think Budgeon, the umpire, has pointed to the penalty corner.
Yep, I think that's the right decision too from umpire Budgeon. You know, Angus Bolton's obviously got his confidence up. He's decided to go one-on against Billy Shaw, attacking his ability to be able to change direction quickly and his speed. And he's forced a bad tackle. And here he is. He throws the ball in behind, gets his engines going, and now, before you know it, Billy Shaw's behind his opponent, and he makes a tackle like that. So I think that was a fair decision. And Billy Shaw looks like he's going to have a pretty tough opponent. You have to be careful.
It's Salt taking the shot. Running out was Deven.
Yeah, this is the concern for OHA. I mean, if it be that they're going to be a real threat come finals time, they need to be able to convert those penalty corners into goals. And at the moment, they haven't got the personnel or haven't set on a structure to find those goals.
Very quickly, the ball up the other end. Daniel Sproul. All that experience. Just takes that with him from Northwest Grads and takes it with him to OHA.
Well, again, what would be classed as being a soft penalty corner, ball being able to find a foot, gives a very strong opportunity for Derwent. So another big test of Aaron Williams. So far he's been found a bit wanting. This is a bit of a headache for OHA. Very good technique too, Nick Tremaine, in pulling the ball or filling the ball from the baseline. Tends to sometimes encourage a bit of a break. It's almost like a second movement. See that left knee movement just then? That forces the break. And they often do that deliberately just to try and ensure that the runners who are running out number one do break, because it means that then Jeffrey Cock on the next one has got that fraction more time that he needs to put the ball into the net.
Here he goes, and they've muffed it up here. And it'll be a dangerous ball, and it will be another penalty corner.
Yeah. Careless error there by Simon Moore. And to play dangerous. So really, Jeffrey Cock has another good opportunity here. Nick Tremaine again trying to get the break if he can.
Will they mix it up this time, or will Jeff Cock go for goal number 3? They mix it up. Anchor. Morton clears it out of there.
Well, interesting too with Nick Tremaine then, because he actually tried a different technique as well. He's mixing it up a little bit so the runner-outers can't actually tell when it's going to be released. But he was in a bit of a rush then, and that's part of the reason why he probably didn't find the accuracy that's needed. Well, bad pass.
McCambridge. You can't afford to let him into the game. Bolton. Austin, though, did really well, charging out of defence for Derwent.
Yeah, but he's turned it over again.
McCambridge again. Clearing it away was Devon.
Well, it's an interesting battle actually between Devon and McCambridge, both quite quick, and both will throw themselves at the ball. And it'll be interesting to see if that happens too often inside the defensive 25s.
Mackie was confronted by Shaw.
Clever.
Shaw works it nicely. Anchor. Running on for him was Middleton.
Oh, Jeffrey Cock in space. Poor marking there by OHA. Mopped up by Morton.
Addison now. Looking for the transfer. Street.
Oh, good ball.
To Tremaine. And Tremaine couldn't keep it in.
Yeah, for a player of his standard, Nick Tremaine, he'd be quite disappointed with mistrapping that one. That was obviously a set play of outletting, transferring the ball around the park.
Addison goes long, knocked on by Anchor.
Yeah, I'd much prefer to see Paul Anchor actually trap those and roll off. He had no player near him, no opponent near him, so he would have had time to trap it and then try and run it to Jeffrey Cock to set him away in deep.
Morton switches. John O'Salt in front position. Bolton at the back. Austin. Bolton gets it back though.
Been impressed, Elsa, with Bolton. He's quite strong on the ball. He doesn't give it away.
Only 16. Lots of young teenagers in this OHA lineup. I think the average age is about 21.
Daniel Sproul would be pretty close to that 21, wouldn't he, Alistair?
I think he's the one bringing it up to about 21. You take Daniel Sproul out and the average comes down to about 15, I think.
Very good.
Edwards. And now a Derwent ball.
Good going off behind the scenes.
Wolford inside the circle.
Interestingly there, Daniel Sprout decided to full press his opponent then. They're banking on trying to turn over the opposition coming out of defence. Why wouldn't you when someone like Daniel Sprout is able to pick up the ball and run into a top of a circle?
Middleton. Jeff Cock on the burst. Who's got the pace? Jeff Cock or Morton? OHA wins it.
Yep, play on. Good umpiring there.
Plenty of room for John O'Salt to advance. McCambridge.
Yeah, third man obstruction then.
The 1-2 from Addison and Tremaine.
Oh, Tremaine. Sproul went at Tremaine then again.
Now Middleton. Jeff Cock runs inside the circle. Dougal Middleton running out of space. Pressured by Moore. Now Middleton. Street.
Not sure that was his intended target.
Ran onto it when Mackie really waited. With Cambridge and Wolford both hack it out of there. Addison, Tremaine with the toss. John O'Salt, McCambridge. They took it off him. Shaw now. Goes to the right, Anchor. Off his stick. It'll be Moore's ball. Goes right back to Morton. Morton. Luckily for him, there was no one from Derwent lurking. That'll almost bring rain. Here's Sproul. Look at him get through the meat and the sandwich. Unbelievable stuff. Now a chance for OHA to score just that quickly. Oh, umpire Budgeon puts the whistle to the mouth and says, play on, boys.
Good desperation from Wolford there. Lucky though in some regards. Had he have missed the target then, Devon was away. Good skill from Jeffrey Cock then.
Now he's clear. Middleton's on. Again though, Jeff Cock not prepared to release the ball to his teammate.
OHA just starting to be a fraction long down their right flank.
It's an interesting tussle actually between Tim Devon and David Wolford from OHA. It's quite physical out here at times on the ground, and they're certainly giving each other a little bit of aggro.
Well, Ange has got the best view of it down there. He might get you to keep an eye on it, Ange. Devon. Middleton. Anchor charges forward, makes some space. Keeps it in. Nice central ball for Jeff Cock. Working hard, shooting, and narrowly missing.
Well, that's the difference in Jeffrey Cock's game. This is what he's brought to his game in the last sort of 2 years. His ability to be able to be really strong in a tight situation, get his shot away. And he wasn't going to relinquish that possession of that ball at all. He's very strong in that situation. We saw it against Queensland in the AHL this year. And if he continues to develop that aspect, he'll become a real dynamite forward. Tackle by Sproul.
Now on the break, here come OHA, back to Sproul. This ball won't be wasted. Devon just pinched it from him, and Daniel Sproul.
Well, he's done a Sproul tackle.
There's a shot at goal from Dougal Middleton, and how quickly a scenario can change. 1 minute OHA heading forward. The best man who could possibly have possession of the ball had it. He had it stolen away by Devon, and they went forward and scored. And Daniel Sproul having a few words with the referee as well.
Well, the problem for Aaron Williams, the goalkeeper for OHA, is that not only did he have to worry about Middleton, he also had Jeffrey Cock lurking in behind him, so he didn't know which angle to cover. And, you know, Middleton Dougal did quite well at the Under-18 Nationals, and again, it's good to see him on the scoreboard.
3-1 Derwent's lead now. A handy 2-goal break. Nothing in that, Macca, you thought?
Oh, look, I think it was quite a clean tackle from Tim Devon. I think that, you know, I hadn't seen... We were looking at it from behind, so it was quite hard to tell whether there was any sort of contact in front of Daniel Sproul, and the only person who had probably the best side of that was the umpire Budgeon, but he didn't decide to blow anything with it, so play on. The difficulty for Daniel in that situation is that he was being tackled by someone who's probably equally as quick as what he is, and that's Tim Devon. Most other players he would have eliminated.
It resulted in Dougal Middleton's first goal for the season. There was Devon in there, working hard again. Austin breaks. Works it on to Jeff Cock. Middleton inside the circle. Edwards. In fact, Morton stole it.
I reckon there in that situation, that's where Jeffrey Cock shouldn't find the feet. He should be able to hang on with the ball and eliminate his opponent, and then be looking to make the pass forward rather than hitting through an opponent. Good ball.
Tremaine.
Interesting with Tremaine. He's playing as a deep defender almost now.
Possession in favour of Derwent. 56 to 44. Middleton.
Yeah, you have to wonder, Alistair, whether or not Nick Tremaine's back has an inability to be able to train midweek has an impact on his fitness. I mean, I can't think of any other reason why it is that he'd have to go back to the baseline, as in sort of defending wise, unless he wasn't fit enough to be able to play out a full 70 minutes in the middle. So potentially that's what he's doing. He's moving back to the full back line in order to recover a little bit before he then swaps back into centre half.
Fully fit, he's probably unrivalled in the competition, isn't he? In terms of his aerobic capacity.
Oh yeah, pretty much so. When he's really fit, he's around sort of 14 or 15s on the shuttle. Tim Devon's right up there as well.
Street on screen, waiting for the ball to take the free hit. Tremaine, Addison. Anchor, little knock on, Shaw. Now Middleton. The build-up from Derwent is pretty good as Cock gets the ball. The goalkeeper's out. They all look at the umpire. And the umpire points to the left and says, OHA, it's your ball.
Well, that was some really good, clever passing by Tim Devon, because he knew exactly where Jeffrey Cock had got to. And in that instance then, Jeffrey Cock had made up his mind. He wanted to force a penalty corner, but he couldn't find his way through two OHA defenders.
Stolen by Bent, who works it to Jeff Cock. Jeff Cock gets around, this time uses Devon. And Morton clears it out of there.
Well, some scrappy defending, but it's working for OHA, I suppose, in some regards. They're having to defend pretty vigorously. Probably not necessarily tidy at all times, but they're doing the job in the last 10 minutes.
Addison, Sproul. Ended up with Cock, though. Street, back to Tremaine. Tremaine. Nice ball, Anchor.
Yeah, should have given it easier, or earlier I should have said. And Luke Austin had run himself forward. Anchor hung onto the ball just a fraction too long.
And off the stick of Addison, out of play. So OHA with the final chance of the first half. Dylan Salt.
One-yard bunt to try and clear the ball, get it out of the danger area.
Again, it's the two Salts combining. Down the line. Now a Derwent ball. Addison to Street. Tremaine being told to hold it. And that is half-time here. So after a fairly bright start from OHA, Derwent goes in leading this game by 2 goals at half-time. They look to have the edge. Macca in class. When they go forward, they look a bit more potent as well.
Yeah, I think the big problem for OHA is Aaron Williams. I mean, the lack of a potent penalty corner flicker for OHA works against them in 2 ways. One, they're not converting as many opportunities as they should inside the attacking penalty corners they do have, but also equally from training point of view, there's no one flicking the ball hard at Aaron Williams on a regular basis midweek. So when he comes up against a Jeffrey Cock, he hasn't been practicing it for the last sort of X number of weeks, and all of a sudden he's hit by someone who can flick the ball quite hard. So he's being exposed, and I think in some regards there's no doubt that actually is hurting OHA at the moment.
You see with Jeff Cock, every time that Derwent get a penalty corner, they're not afraid to just continually use Cock, because they know that he can score, even if it is predictable that he's going to take the shot.
Well, he's got the goals on the board, obviously, and he's running in some form, so why not use something that's working well for you? And at the moment, Derwent are employing a half-court press, and it's working quite well for them. And really, it's a question of whether or not Aaron Williams can make a few more saves defensively on the upcoming second half. And at the same time, someone like Daniel Sproul, if he can break forward and set up Sam Cambridge, we're in for a real live wire second half.
Well, there's the first goal of the game scored by Jeff Cock from a penalty corner. And then a minute later, Bolton went forward and scored, the recruit from Devonport. We hadn't had many goals early, and then they came in a rush as Jeff Cock got his second goal. And there's the last goal to Dougal Middleton.
You know, I think probably the interesting thing about that, Alistair, was a good back tackle by Tim Deaven on Daniel Sproul, and they would have worked out that he's a key player they've got to turn over.
Half-time, the score 3-1, possession in favour of Derwent. The penetration's very even. Shots on goal, though, 8-3, so they're getting plenty of shots away at the moment, Derwent.
Well, as we've commented on before about OHA and the deep defenders needing to improve their tackling.
Really good job, but then we just fell away. And we're just letting them get the ball now. So we need to get back to that level that we had in the first 15, 20 minutes, okay? And that includes just being really tough again, okay? We're putting the physical presence on them, roughing them up a bit. That's what we want to continue to do. In the second half, we're going to change the way we're falling away a bit now. So we're going to press out a bit more instead of falling away so much because we're giving him too much time now. So we need to get out now, push out, put a bit more pressure on them. Yep. But that means if we're going to push out guys, it means the back guys need to be right up on their man because there's nothing worse than us going forward trying to push some bit and he goes in behind us and there's a guy just standing there on his own, okay? So it starts from the back with the communication, okay? Simo and Dylan, you really need to get the calling going to your inside forward so he knows what's going on because they're rotating around and we just got to stay in that zone, but we need to sort of hand over a bit better, okay? Trent, you got anything?
I just want to say we made a couple of really good transfers. We moved the ball quickly between our fullback and nice.
Interesting there that he crosses to his brother, Trent Sproul, to say a few words, things he's noticed perhaps that Daniel can't see while he's playing the game. Trent's a pretty handy backup to watch the game from the sheds.
Yeah, well, it's a difficult thing to be able to play the game and at the same time be thinking about what it is you're going to say at the half-time break. And I thought what Daniel said was pretty spot on. He's realised now that obviously they've got to get goals. One way of doing it is to really put pressure on the deep defence or the outletting of the Derwent defence. So he's made that decision, and so it'll be interesting to see how, as he said before, the key players defensively for OHA, they need to make sure they step up and be in front of their opponent. Otherwise, they will break.
For those who don't know Daniel Sproul all that well, I mean, to watch him there, he sounds calm, quietly spoken. He delivers his message in a concise way. He's how would you sum him up? Does he fire up? Is he the kind of guy who will be firing brimstone from time to time? Will he rev the charges up and give them a spray if they need it?
Oh, he's probably guilty of revving himself up sometimes, more so than the players around him. But he's doing that in his own way. But I think, you know, every one of the OHA players, and I know even the Tassie Tigers players and national players, used to always respect his ability. So they would listen and they'd take on board everything he said. Didn't have to shout and rant about it. He'd just say it in his own way.
Well, Angie Ockenden had an ear over the Derwent huddle. What did Glenn Freeman have to say, Ange?
Look, Glenn Freeman basically wanted his players to transfer the ball more in the midfield. His statistics are telling him that their entry into the circle is too one-sided and he wants to get entry from both sides. He says that really where they're going to hurt them more is down both flanks. He wants to build the numbers on the flanks and really hurt them down those sides. So basically that was what he was talking about. But in defence, he wanted to make sure that they were safe, that they were playing safe, not just playing safe as you know, not really caring safe, but really thinking about what they're doing, their possession, their percentages, trapping the ball, just their basics. Make sure that they get that right, and then the rest should do for it should go. It should be able to get on from there.
And Ange, looks a little cold down there. Can you give us an update on the temperature?
It has dropped a bit. It is a little bit cold, and I think while we've got these developments going on, we're sort of not in the sun either. So when the building here finishes, I think we'll all be much better off and much more comfortable. Unlike you that are revelling in the tropics in the commentary box. I'm
sure we'll hear all about it when the sauna goes in. Ange, up there, I think in the middle of the construction site, as you can see, will be Angie's sauna that only she only is allowed to use. I understand you've also already had your name carved into the bar, Macca.
Oh, no, not me. No, totally off it.
All right, well, we're right on this game, and we're about to get underway in the second half. And it'll be Jeff Cock to start proceedings for Derwent, leading the game 3-1. He has 2 goals today. Nick Tremaine, Addison, Luke Austin.
So Sam McCambridge has gone to the point, and sometimes we refer to that as the centre striker position, but he's gone to the point. If you want to think of an arrow, he's the point of the arrow, so he'll be pressing the Derwent deep defenders.
Jono Salt. Mackie was there for OHA, and it will be OHA's ball. Sproul to take it.
Yeah, good pass too.
Bolton comes out for OHA. Addison under pressure from McCambridge. Gets around. Alistair Addison. Didn't time it as he would have liked, but Anchor gets it anyway and bursts around. He's put down. Oh, bit of trouble here. Either a knee or an ankle. Some sort of leg injury here for Paul Anchor. He looks in enormous pain. I think it's the knee. This does not look good for Derwent and Paul Anchor.
It's in a fair bit of pain too. Let's hope it's just a jar.
Do we see it go here anywhere, Macca? Excellent camera work.
Oh, yeah,
and it's a little bit of an extension, isn't it?
Yep. Bit of a jar.
You would not expect Paul Anchor to play any more part in this game, and hopefully the prognosis is good thereafter. Have you seen many of these types of injuries before?
I've seen a couple. Lee Bottomede had one in the AIS days when I was over there, which is a long time away, but he ran into a patch of dry turf. So when 1 minute he was running along and he was on wet turf, and then he ran into a patch of the turf which was dry, so there was no give for his foot. But it looks as if there on that one then, and he's landed his right foot, and he's just sort of had a bit of an awkward lean, if you want to call it, top half of his body going one way and his right knee going inwards. So I'm not a doctor or a surgeon, so I wouldn't hesitate as to what it might be, but certainly it doesn't look very promising at the moment, so let's hope he's okay.
Lots of people attending to Paul Anchor down there. Now, they were pretty quick in getting maybe an ice pack onto the knee. It's been thrown away now.
Well, I'm hoping it's just a bit of a jar. Sometimes that can happen, and maybe that's what it is. Let's hope so.
We might have to get Angie Ockenden to have a bit of a listen around and a few questions just to see what the prognosis is. It's definitely a knee injury. The extent of it is what we don't know.
Hoping it's not a cruciate or something serious like that. Certainly you might be able to see on the replay, but I didn't see anybody hit the knee. I think it was something that happened while he was running.
Yeah, spot on, Ange. It's some sort of, you could almost see the knee go inward and just extend in an unnatural way. So disappointment for Derwent, disappointment for Paul Anchor and hockey, because he is such a valuable player.
A little bit lucky there for Dylan Salt. His stick was quite high then when he made that trap inside the defensive circle.
This looks good. Jeff Cock, the goalkeeper, off the line. Cock shoots and he's missed it to the left-hand side.
Yeah, this will probably be quite unsettling for Derwent, because obviously they don't want to lose someone of player Anchor's standard, let alone any player of their team going down with a knee injury. But at the same time, it means they've got to reform, put people in some different positions, and it can have a big impact for the first sort of 10 or so minutes.
Sproul, McCambridge, Austin. Still treatment going on for Paul Anchor over there. It doesn't look like he's got a lot of confidence in it. In the knee, that is. Salt. Bolton to the right. He tries to cut back to the left. And it will be OHA's ball at the top of the circle.
Yeah, you could see Tremaine trying to get around so he could make that clean tackle. But not able to do so. Well protected by Salt.
Edwards looks for an option. Daniel Sproul comes up in the end. And that will be a Derwent ball.
Yeah, attacking circle free hits now are so important. They're almost as valuable as penalty corners. And teams will continue to explore different ways of getting good entry into the attacking circle. That wasn't an example of a good one, but sure they'll continue to rehearse that in training.
Tremaine and Sproul lock sticks. They're locking horns this afternoon in a pretty entertaining battle. Austin.
Good body there from Jeffrey Cock. He just basically got Jake Morton out of the way with his body. Yep, clumsy tackle from Simon Moore. Mind you, Jeffrey Cock was running at top speed. Couldn't change direction quick enough. So he thought the better of the two evils is to give away a penalty corner. Just look at this one here. So the one-off type tackle, and generally that leads to a clean elimination. In other words, get it past your opponent and you're in free space for a goal shot, but the tackle was so untidy that it actually knocked the ball away. So good opportunity here for Derwent.
OHA just trying to organise themselves in the goal mouth. Tremaine. And the Derwent battery. Jeff Cock goes again. This time it's saved.
Yeah, it was saved, but again, Aaron Williams' technique was that he went down on his right knee rather than staying upright. You can see how the sun's in his eyes currently, so it would have been a real difficult save because the sun would have been directly into his eyes. So he's done a fantastic job to actually make contact with his glove then.
Derwent though continue to press, and Bent couldn't quite keep it in.
A good ball into space by Derwent.
McCambridge and Street. McCambridge robs him of it.
He's got the pace too, McCambridge.
Shaw does really well. An OHA ball. They could use a goal. Wolford to take it. Derwent.
Good little skill there from Billy Shaw. You do need to be careful, however, running the ball out of the defensive 25. It's not something that coaches are too keen on seeing a great deal of.
Mackie. And it's going to be Dylan Salt to step up and take the free. Salt. Jeff Cock doing some work in defence now. Nice ball for Middleton. Middleton into the centre. Bent. Worked it into Edwards' feet. Shaw on the right.
Tremaine's gone high as well.
Ingles cuts back to the left. Will he get past Sproul? No, he won't.
Not many people do. And just Sproul saying, well, the whistle hasn't been blown, so I'll play it off my opponent and then keep going.
Edwards. Salt down the right.
Good work from Middleton then. Pressured his opponent then. Ran hard. Worked hard in the first sort of 5 yards or so. That's what strike forwards need to do when they're trying to close down the opponents.
Addison.
Oh, well done. Good trap door.
Tremaine in space on his reverse. The pressure applied by Moore.
Umpire Budgeon thought about a penalty corner as well. As you said earlier, Alistair, the whistle went to the mouth, but he chose not to give it.
And a little bit of frustration creeping into the OHA game at the moment. A few heads throwing back. Austin composed back there for Derwent.
Billy Shaw having a go at right half now.
Here's a chance for McCambridge. Comes centrally.
Yeah, poor pass. Easily intercepted. Derwent probably had time to trap that one then and do more with it.
Salt. Mackie, Wolford. Cuts back to the left. Inside the circle now. Robbed by Tremaine. Now on the counter. Here comes Derwent. Dougal Middleton down the left. Salt's running really hard to get back. And then Jono Salt comes in. Tremaine. Jeff Cock in some space. He will shoot here surely. The goalkeeper's out. Cleared away. Nice stuff from Moore. Coming back though through Devon. And the whistle has gone. It's going to be a Derwent ball.
Yeah, Devon frustrated too. He wanted the advantage then. He was looking to have a shot on his reverse, hoping that the ball would go in the net and or rebound for Jeffrey Cock to tap it in.
Tremaine looks for an option.
Yeah, sloppy entrance into the attacking circle. Both teams struggling a little bit at the moment on their attacking circle free hits. Unusual to see Nick Tremaine do that.
So far the second half has been much like we started the game. The first goal didn't come until the 16th minute. Jeff Cock inside the circle, shoots at goal. He found himself some space again. They need to tighten up a bit on Jeff Cock, Macca.
Well, that's the thing, and he's got the ability to be able to track on angles, much like Daniel Sproul. And you've got to be careful that you don't overcommit one way, because sooner or later you'll be exploited and they'll go the other direction, which is exactly what Jeffrey Cock did, and took the quick shot away.
Ingles. Ball knocked out again.
Yeah, hit the foot of the Derwent attacker. Daniel Sproul in space inside the attacking 50. Almost as if he's playing left striker at the moment.
Austin.
There he is now.
Sproul, look at that. All class. Who does he give it to? Wolford. Bench there for Derwent. Wolford. They're not happy, Derwent. OHA's ball.
Oh, that was too easy. Well done by Middleton.
Sproul on his reverse.
That was a really poor decision by Tremaine then. To rush out like that, you do that against really good opposition, you'll pay a big price. Can't afford to be eliminated like that.
Shaw has Cock. Did the ball go out, Mac?
I think so. I've got to say to you, Alistair, if Nick Tremaine had done that sort of tackle a minute ago, as he did against Jeremy Edwards in an AHL game, that would certainly be on the post-game highlights that we'd show the team. And I'd let Nick talk his way through that one too.
Well, here he is again, Nick Tremaine. Middleton works it inside the circle. It's back out of there now. Ooh. And a free to Derwent. Nick Tremaine right on the edge of the circle. Little reverse shot from Devon.
Yeah, it's too easy. It's way too easy for Tim Devon to be able to trap a ball like that and then on his reverse get a shot away at the goalkeeper. So really, OHA defence, they probably need to mark a bit closer. And here is Tim Devon's shot. You find he leads into a bit of space and no one goes to him quick enough. And really in that situation there, you need to body up. And so it's almost shoulder-to-shoulder type stuff. The defender's on one shoulder of the opponent and you just shouldn't be giving them that sort of time.
Will it be Jeff Cock again? This time it's Addison. Somehow OHA survives. Clears the ball out.
I think the ball actually was deflected off Nick Tremaine into the post and rebounded out.
Devon back to Austin. Nice little dummy.
What I like about Derwent is the flexibility they have within the group. Players play in different positions. Oh, good work by Devon there. Good courage. Wouldn't want to do that against Daniel Sproul. The head and the ball would be going the other direction, I would have thought.
Addison, Tremaine led for him but couldn't quite control it.
Update on Paul Anker's knee. We've had the doctor just look at it. He doesn't think it's too serious, although it's difficult to tell. And he did also like to say that he actually is a neurologist, so he probably doesn't know exactly, but it seems to be all right.
Yeah, he's not too sure about the condition of Paul Anker's knee, but apparently Paul has an IQ of 140.
He's quite an intelligent man.
Now Addison, Devon.
Good
Wolford. Bolton was there, but bent. Smashes it out of the attacking circle.
Still plenty of time for OHA. That's probably where Angus Bolton needed to be. He probably needed to position himself so that the ball going across the goal face, he was there to get the tap in. Still, he was too high. Too much space for Jeffrey Cock there.
Tremaine now. Worked on by Cock. Edwards takes it away from Tremaine, but Jeff Cock wins it back. Inside the circle he goes. And another penalty corner. And Jeff Cock will probably be thinking that this one I'm going to have a crack at.
Well, if anything, Jeremy Edwards there was guilty of trying to actually pass the ball through an opponent. Jeffrey Cock, once he got into the attacking zone, he knew he had Edwards done because he was tackling from behind. So all he was looking to do was to pull the ball back quickly, find his foot and earn a penalty corner. So probably a bit of a lesson there for Edwards. Don't try and pass the ball through the opponents inside the defensive 25. Look to try and find a clear gap and send the ball out of danger.
The potent Derwent penalty corner battery. It's not worked this time.
Well, it's been a bit off actually today because they've mistrapped a number of penalty corners, and it's really sort of prevented Jeffrey Cock having a good opportunity at flicking the ball well.
Going for a run, McCambridge. He lost it though. Shaw had it worked out by Wolford. Addison. Austin. They still look pretty settled back there even without Webmaker.
Yeah, it's good width, and as I said, that's the strength of the group, and they've got good flexibility.
Jeff Cock, how's his reverse? Williams off the pad.
Yeah, I think Jeffrey Cock got a bit of a spray from Nick Tremaine then. There was a number of players lined up by Derwent there to actually look for the deflection and didn't come. Jeremy Ingles was certainly in a position to deflect it, and they had Tremaine as well behind Williams, but Jeffrey Cock went for the reverse goal shot, and you can see Tremaine just in picture his foot. He's basically saying, well, there was two of us, probably could have given it to us and been a really easy goal rather than that specky goal.
There is Ingles, and there's the knee of Paul Anker getting taped up. The prognosis didn't sound too bad.
Well, they talk about RICE, rest ice, compression, elevation. So no doubt that's what's being employed at the moment. Paul Anker try and reduce any inflammation. Let's hope his knee is fine so he can play the rest of the club season, and certainly from my point of view that he's able to play for the Tassie Tigers in 09. Because if it is a recon, then he would be in a fair bit of jeopardy, I would have thought, for next year's AHL.
Edwards. Sproul. To the run of Bridley.
See, Sproul was on then again, so Bridley probably chose the wrong option then. Sproul landed himself and came across. This is what the talk about at half-time, I think it was, that and Ange might have commented on it before as well, about the importance of just the basics. And Daniel Sproul had said how he wanted to make sure that, you know, you just keep working on your basics all the way through. That was an example then of where they're just a little bit off.
Lots of yap here. They'll want to be careful.
Yeah, and Anthony Murgatroyd's trying to tell Sam McCambridge that I want you to be the full 5, not 3 or 4. In some regards, it's for your own safety as well, because if you're too far in, it's quite dangerous. You haven't got enough time to react. Derwent just sort of happy at the moment. They've got control. OHA need to pull a rabbit out of the hat.
Tremaine looking for Ingles. And there's another penalty corner to Derwent.
Yeah, it was a good bit of work, good lead by Ingles, and he was able to deflect the ball onto Simon Moore's foot. So here's the pass from Tremaine, and Jeremy Ingles nice and low, whereas Simon Moore was a bit upright. And they often talk about being low inside the attacking circle, and there's no doubt that Jeremy Ingles did that well.
8th penalty corner here for Derwent. It's Addison again this time, but he combines in a little variation with Jeff Cock, and Simon Moore thumps it out of there. It was different.
Yeah, well, we have seen it before. I've seen Billy Shaw do it at the Under-18 Nationals. He's got the skill to do that pivot as well. And often what happens is the number one runner overcommits, which gives the penalty corner flicker enough time to really be in close and flick the ball hard at the net.
So a goalless second half so far. And came off the foot of the OHA player. So another penalty corner.
Well, what we've seen so far, I suppose, Alistair, is a couple of times where OHA have been guilty about conceding soft penalty corners, and part of the reason has been is defensive-wise, they haven't been low enough, they haven't been alert enough, they haven't had that vigilance to be really sharp and alert and focused, and the ball's found their foot. And against Derwent, you can't do that.
So they've converted 2. They've had oodles of opportunities. Addison shoots, and there's the goal Derwent's been wanting to get this second half moving again.
Well, that's a rare one too for Derwent, because not often do you see many penalty corners nowadays actually hit hard, and I think you'll find that Jonathan Salt, the post person who's supposed to support Aaron Williams, when the ball was hit, he was outside the area where he should be, and the ball's hit, and Jonathan Salt said, look, I'll just step out of the way of this one, and oh yep, that's too good for me, that one, and also I don't want to get hurt. So Jonathan Salt, if you're watching this, you might look out, because Daniel Sproul might give you a bit of a spray when he looks at the footage of this, because really, I don't know what you're doing. Your stick's up in the air, your body's outside, and he knows himself, but still...
I don't think he needs to see it, Macca.
Well,
I think he's seeing it, he'll be seeing it in his sleep tonight.
Well, if you get given the job, you've got to do it.
4-1, and Derwent's blown this game out of the water now. Bent. Calvert. And they've rung the changes too. Bowen. Vaughan Bowen. Street to take it.
Good deception in the pass then too.
Deven should be able to keep this in play. Skirts around. John O'Salt got the stick to that one. Bowen. Shaw. Deven. And the ball was knocked in, but the whistle had gone. Jeff Cock, what a start to 2008 it has been. 2 goals today. But he's actually not living up to his standards of this season so far today, because he has scored a hat-trick or more in every game he's played.
Early days, Alistair. Early days.
You don't think it can continue, Macca, a hat-trick a game?
Well, I think it can actually today. Only needs one more. Urgency of the game's probably dropped away a little bit.
They're going to take some beating, this Derwent side this season. Quickly taken by Bent, but
yeah,
the ball's wasted.
It's untidy. It's too often in this game so far. We've seen attacking circle free hits, and they've just been wasted. And from a coaching point of view, I'm sure both of them will be looking at that.
And Bent has gone off for a breather. Edwards sees the free man in Wolford, and that won't be appearing on the highlights reel, mate.
Well, I mean, again, he was in space, and even if he did deflect it, I don't think he would have found a target. So, really, he needed to have his head up so he knew exactly what was going on around him, because I'm sure if he'd sort of surmised the situation properly, he would have retained possession.
Cambridge got across to put some pressure on, but Derwent come away with it.
Deven, pace.
Calvert's forward. Cock works it to him, and Calvert couldn't finish the job. It was a nice setup from Derwent. They knocked the ball around nicely. Street keeps it in. Gave it straight away to Pritchard.
Yeah, the frustrating thing there from a coaching point of view is the fact that Tom Pritchard actually tried to pass the ball through an opponent, where what he could have done is avoid passing the ball through an opponent and actually weighted the ball into space so that Sam McCambridge could have run onto it. Like that.
McCambridge does run onto the ball from Sproul. Derwent's defence though. Misley. Bowen. Moore gets down. Now, OHA, can they create something? Unfortunately not. Nathan Fitzpatrick hasn't had to make too many saves today. Tremaine. The overhead. Edwards gets back for OHA. Gave it to Deven though. One of the enigmas of the competition, Tim Deven. Bowen. Well, there you go. 4-1 on the scoreboard. Could be a little more one-sided than that. 16 shots to 3. Salt.
The interesting thing too with that stat is that it's really not been Aaron Williams who's had a big impact in the net. It's really been more that the Derwent forwards have actually missed goals that they should have converted.
The sting's gone out of it a bit. Will Derwent be content with a 4-1 win? Will they go for a real thrashing here this afternoon? Will OHA be able to find some consolation goals, add some respectability? That to be decided in the final 10 minutes. Salt charges forward. Derwent win it back though. Deven gave it to Jono Salt.
Oh, good work from Nick Tremaine there.
Beautiful stuff. And it will be a free hit to Nick Tremaine at the top of the circle. And if Middleton could have made that trap, he had no one on him, completely unmarked, could have taken the shot at goal. Jono Salt. Moore. Edwards. Has to come back in the end. Thinks he can get around Vaughan Bowen.
A bit going off between Wolford and Middleton off screen.
Here's a chance for Calvert. Works to the left of Morton. Now wants to cut back. Morton does nicely. There's an extra ball on the field there too. They'll need to get rid of that. The young fellow comes out now as Wolford worked forward. Addison though stood in the way.
No, that's obstruction, that is.
Calvert to Jeff Cock.
Good drag.
Derwent inside the circle. It was Bowen.
Nice right to left drag then from Bowen, eliminating his opponent. Here it is. Right to left, there it is, nice and quick. If you blink, you'll miss it.
Jono Salt just hammers it out of there.
Well, it's good to see the ball up inside the attacking zone for OHA. Mightn't be under control, but at least they've got it up there.
Hasn't been there for a while, Macca. Jono Salt, a long way up the field. Here's a chance. And a penalty corner as well. Nathan Fitzpatrick, unimpressed with the lads. They haven't given him much work to do. It's been a tight Derwent defence. Just the second penalty corner coming up for OHA.
Well, they don't have a strong penalty corner flicker, so you'd expect that this might be a Jonathan Salt hit. But you can see the tackle from behind there by Middleton. That's the one where the ball's been knocked just in behind him. Not really sure that it was controlled, but still, Middleton had to make the tackle and made contact. Maybe not too much more he could have done there in that situation. Well, untidy, but they ended up getting a shot away. The ball again wasn't trapped properly at the top of the circle. Both teams struggling with that a little bit today.
Shaw cuts back to the left. Middleton drifts forward. Tremaine's got to backtrack to get that. Now he goes for a dash. Jeff Cock's ball.
You would have heard the players talking about trem out, and what they're saying is to bring the ball out of that zone and bring it into an area where we can attack better, instead of keeping the ball in the dead zones, as we call it, on the corner of the fields. So when you hear them say that, they're talking about bringing it into an area where we can then build a better attack.
There's the shot. Williams gets in the way of it. Ingles to take it for Derwent. Wolford had to go again.
Good bit of physical strength there, shown by Derwent.
Another Derwent ball. So probably not quite the contest we'd anticipated, Macca.
No. Had elements of it, but just OHA not able to get some real consistency about being able to do it for the full 70 minutes. Mind you, I think there's a few positives they'll take from this game.
What are those positives?
Well, I think the Sam McCambridge is certainly a player that they know that they can get at the Derwent deep defenders. And when they pressed really hard against Derwent, they were able to find some good turnovers. But there's no doubt that they'll be looking at their penalty corners. They'll have to look at the way that they structure their defence, OHA, and that when they do break quickly, with their pace up front, they've got a pretty good percentage of being able to convert into penetrations inside the attacking zone. So I think that in some regards there's some good balance amongst the OHA team, but there's no doubt that penalty corner wise they need to get a penalty corner flicker or need to do something so that they can increase their chances of getting goals from that as well.
Well, part of the problem today has even been that they haven't even been able to get any penalty corners.
Well, that's right. I mean, they did press quite well in the first half, but they obviously aren't doing it at the moment in the second half.
Bridley comes out the back for Sproul to run onto it, perhaps create something. A good pass. Bolton, in fact, Mackie coming across the front was Austin.
Yeah, interesting then too. I mean, it's some of the decision making by the OHA forwards. You may not have picked it up, but Daniel Sproul actually said after this one he goes back one. So he's given the ball here, and they've gone and hit the call. Just then was back one. So Daniel was basically saying, "I'm on, drop it back behind me so I can take the shot." But they didn't do that. So it's a little bit about some of their decision making that they're not getting quite right at the moment. I mean, had they have dropped it back then, Daniel would have been in space. He probably would have got a goal shot away.
No doubt the OHA game plan under Daniel Sproul will gel the longer the season goes.
There's no doubt too, from my point of view, that one of the areas that they've got to work on is defensively, penalty corners. Aaron Williams probably hasn't been as good as he needs to be today, and they'll have to look at that from a training point of view. They need to do something whereby he's getting a lot of exposure on penalty corner flicks, whether that be that he's coming along to some sort of training session against Jeffrey Cock or Nick Budgeon or whatever, but he needs to do that in order to get himself ready for the club come finals time.
Is it the kind of thing that could be arranged? I mean, is the other team's likely to help out an opposition goalkeeper in the name of benefiting Tasmanian hockey?
Well, yeah, I mean, really, the players get on pretty well, and so, to them it's just an opportunity to go down the turf and practice their skills and hone them. So I don't think that you'll find that too many of them will say, "Oh no, I won't come and flick penalty corners against you because you'll stop me from getting goals." They don't tend to look at it that way. Coaches might, but players sometimes don't.
Well, Toby West's playing for Northwest Grads. He's someone who has been a loss in that area for them. There's another shot at goal from Jeff Cock, and that narrowly misses. So that hat-trick for Jeffrey Cock.
Well, that was an excellent save. That was where he was doing very well, Aaron Williams. It was a fantastic save. He got down low to his right and he made a good save with his stick. So, you know, again, I suppose he's seen a fair bit of it today, and now he's starting to read them better.
Sproul releases Mackie. Bolton heading forward.
He's got to use Sproul here. So it's a wrong option. Look where Sproul is. Sproul's on the top of the circle, just hovering there, and this is where they're not getting the get and give. They're not making the right decisions in that situation. Why go to the baseline or the dead zones when you've got a player free like Daniel Sproul on the top of the circle? And I'm sure the difficult thing for him is he's basically saying, well, give the ball back to me. And he doesn't want to give that message. But at the same time, he wants the players to understand that if you are on, you should give it, rather than him being ball hungry, is probably what I'm trying to say.
Well, if I was playing in that team, Macca, and I never will because I'd never be good enough, I'd be giving it to Daniel Sproul. I'd be looking for him at every opportunity.
Well, I say in all honesty that when Daniel was playing for us in the Tassie Tigers, often players felt as if, we shouldn't keep him involved in the play because he's going to get tired. But no, just keep giving him the ball. Let the play build and work off him, rather than sort of not give him the ball and then he's not having an impact on the game.
So Derwent going to record a comfortable victory here. Keep their unbeaten run this season going. That'll be a Derwent ball. Paul Anker. Well, he's got a bit of a smile on the face. The grimaces have gone, Macca. He still needs assistance. Clearly can't walk on that knee, but...
He looked like a bit of an Indian Raj then, didn't he, being carried off?
That's how you usually get delivered to the commentary box.
Correct. I normally have some dim sims in my hand at the same time, though.
They're only for the early games.
That's it.
Tremaine. Ingles. Works it to Cock.
2 seconds.
Not long to go. And there is the siren ending the game. A pretty comprehensive win to Derwent in the end. OHA got an early goal against the reigning premiers, but they couldn't match it with them in the end. Jeff Cock finished with 2 goals, a single to Bolton from OHA, Middleton and Addison, the other goal scorers for Derwent. And Derwent has run out convincing winners here at the Tasmanian Hockey Centre, 4-1. And that's now 5 wins from 5 games this season. Daniel Sproul, he had a fair crack today, Macca, but as you said, they didn't get the ball to him in some dangerous positions. And what would be his message to the boys during the week, do you think?
I think it'll be a positive one. I think in some regards what he'll do is you'll look at what you just said about not getting the ball to players in the right positions inside the attacking 25. He'll certainly look at what they're doing penalty corner-wise, and you'll probably ask them to continue to develop their basics, whereas someone like, the other thing I suppose, which is the critical thing, is Aaron Williams, he's got to improve his penalty corner defence, and so for them to be a threat in penalty come finals time, they've got to get that right.
Here's Angie Ockenden.
Congratulations, your team is again firing. You haven't lost a game, you've scored hundreds of goals. You must be pretty pleased with the way it's going.
Yeah, so far so good, Ange. I think it's going to be a tough year because I think there's probably 5 sides this year that can probably realistically win it, and we welcome the competition, and so far so good. Big match next week though against Northwest, so hopefully we can keep on going.
Well, you certainly look like you've got the goods. Now, we've been concerned about your back injury. I know that you've had a recurrence this week. How is it going? You had a bit of a time out in the Tigers, been a bit of a worry. How are you feeling?
Yeah, not too bad. It's kind of a day-to-day thing. So I had a really good week this week and I woke up this morning and was in agony. So good massage before the game. I'm right. I've just been told by the physios not to do too much work at the moment. Just let it settle down. So just playing games at the moment, no training. You can tell I'm pretty unfit. So hopefully as the season progresses, it kind of mends itself and I can get back into training.
And your rehab, are you doing anything particular?
Yeah, I'm actually about to start Pilates, much to the boys' amusement, on Tuesday nights instead of training. So hopefully get a bit of core stability and maybe fix this injury, hopefully.
Well, we hope so too. Well done to your team. Good luck for the rest of the season. We really enjoy watching you play.
Thanks, Ange. Ta.
Nick Tremaine there with Angie Ockenden, and there's the full-time stats. It was a 4-1 win to Derwent. The possession was in favour of Derwent. The penetration's in favour of Derwent. Shots on goal, that's a glaring statistic there. 18-5 in favour of Derwent. And a big win here to the reigning premiers, Macca. That's an interesting way to prepare yourself for a game of hockey. Nick Tremaine's talking about having a massage. He's not training during the week. He's about to start Pilates. You'd let him do it, though, wouldn't you? He's a quality player.
You'd let him do it, and he probably thinks he's a bit of a god at doing it at the moment. They're going for three in a row, so they'll do whatever they have to.
All right, well, let's go to next week's game, and it's going to be an absolute beauty because it is the battle of last year's grand finalists in the women's competition, Prince of Wales Wellington versus OHA. We hope you can join us next week for that. Here at the Tasmanian Hockey Centre this afternoon, it was the reigning premier in the men's competition getting up over OHA 4-1. Thanks for your time. We'll see you next Saturday.